Jim Tressel, the calm before the storm. A short time ago, the Buckeyes made their traditional walk from St. John Arena into the Horseshoe, where they've ripped off 13 consecutive wins. One of the great settings in all of college football, Ohio Stadium in Columbus. Better than 105,000 on hand today as the 12th-ranked Buckeyes take on the Akron Zips. And, of course, one of the most enduring traditions in all the land, Script, Ohio, performed by the Ohio State University Marching Band and the dotting of the I. Alongside Charles Davis, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to the Big Ten Network. Well, Charles, you and I saw these Buckeyes in the national championship last year. Stars all over the field, especially on offense and especially at quarterback, where now they try and replace the Heisman Trophy winner, Troy Smith.
So it's 2007. That means it's time for a new star at quarterback, and Todd Beckman wants to be that guy. His first start for Ohio State against Youngstown State last week, very efficient with the football. He threw the ball quite well, 17 of 23. His head coach Jim Tressel gave him great opportunities, and he produced 2 touchdowns, aided especially by his junior wide receiver, Brian Robisky. Got out of the gate very strong in his first game, 9 catches, 153 yards. The only thing he didn't do was get in the end zone, but Ohio State won, so he's not worried about it.
Now, the Akron Zips won their season opener last week, beating Army 22-14. They returned 9 starters on defense, so they very much believe that is the strong suit of this team.
As well as they play a different style, a 3-3-5 defense, and last week one of their cornerbacks, the aptly named Reggie Corner, led this ball club. A 74-yard interception return for a touchdown against Army, turned the game around and led to a big Akron victory. Today, that 3-3-5 defense must control the front line of Ohio State for Akron to have a shot.
So here we go, week number 2 of the Big Ten Network. The Akron Zips in town to take on the Buckeyes. Big Ten Network football is brought to you by U.S. Bank, home of the 5-star service guarantee. By Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. And by Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here. Along the Olentangy River, we welcome you to Ohio Stadium in Columbus. J.D. Brookhart in his 4th season, 42 years old, a native of Denver, Colorado. 19-18, coming off a season in which the Zips were 5-7. Jim Tressel, 54 years young, from Mentor, Ohio, in his 7th season at Ohio State. And what a run it's been. 6 bowl appearances, 4 BCS games, 4 10-1 years, 3 Big Ten titles, and a national championship. A pleasure to be joined by the 3rd member of our broadcast team today, Carissa Thompson. Hello, Carissa.
Hello, you guys. How are you doing? All right, last week Jim Tressel got a win over the first team. He won a national national championship with Youngstown State. This week, he looks across the field at another familiar team. Tressel's first job was at Akron as a graduate assistant, where he got his master's in education. In fact, the last time that Tressel has faced the Zips was 6 years ago to the date. And by the way, that was also started the Jim Tressel era here at Ohio State.
Hard to believe, isn't it, Charles? And it was 7 years ago now. Take a look at young Coach Tressel, just married, just graduating from Baldwin-Wallace, and here he is 30-plus years later, the main man at Ohio State University.
And described in that media guide as one of the bright young coaches in the country. They knew what they were talking about, didn't they?
Tressel, of course, taking Ohio State to the national championship game where they won in 2002. They were losers really in a stunning game last year. Charles, you and I were there in Phoenix, Arizona, when Florida just wiped out Ohio State, and many wondered how this team this year would recover from that loss.
And I think that most of the people that were wondering is more of the fan base. I don't think the team ever had a doubt that they would recover because of how they do things within their program. They use it as fuel, but they don't dwell on it. They have moved on to 2007 to start anew.
Well, the Buckeyes have won the toss, elected to receive, and we mentioned last week one of the rule changes, a significant change in college football. You now kick off from the 30 rather than the 35.
5 extra yards of coverage space for the guys running downfield means you're probably using more frontline, better athlete guys to go downfield and cover kickoff. If you're a kick returner, you love this new rule.
On the return, it's Anderson, Russell, and they run the reverse. Coming back the other way. And that is Brandon Sane, the freshman sensation out of Piqua, Ohio. A 39-yard return, so great field position for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we will be calling Brandon Sane's name a great deal today.
A 10-3-8 100-meter sprinter. Watch right here. Here comes Sane this way, and the wall is set up back this way for him. Nice job by Sane. See, there's 1 or 2 blocks. Then he uses that sprinter speed, the 100-meter champion in Ohio last year.
All right, from the 41, they're going to hand it off to Chris Wells, and he lost his footing and picks up maybe a yard. Todd Beckman, a redshirt junior. He's 23 years old, out of St. Henry, Ohio. That's the same high school that has produced Buckeye greats Bobby Hoying and Jim Lachey. A very solid debut as a starter last week. Did not throw an interception, threw 2 touchdowns, and hit on 17 of 23. Wells and Maurice Wells in the backfield. Short throw, and it's incomplete to Brian Hartline. Ohio State in their backfield and their wide receivers, some very talented players, but extremely young. Deontay Johnson, the only senior of the group. Robisky coming off the 9-reception game for 153 yards last week. Up front, Kirk Barton, a first-team All-American candidate. He is one of the tri-captains for the Buckeyes. Alex Boone returns as a starter. So too does Steve Rearing. 3rd down and 10 out of the shotgun. Beckman incomplete. So it's 3 and out for the Buckeyes as Beckman is taken down to the turf by Breon Stokes, the senior linebacker out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Jim Fleming, the defensive coordinator for Akron, loaded up on the 3rd and long and blitzed Todd Beckman and played straight man-to-man coverage in the secondary. An early gamble that pays off for the Zips.
Very dangerous return man, and Andre Jones in the 3rd quarter in the opening weekend against Army. He returned a punt 63 yards. A.J. Trapasso puts a foot on it, and it will fall and check back up, and it's down by Spittler at the 24-yard line. So now Akron will take over on offense. We told you the Zips won their opener last week against Army at 22-14. They have a first-year starter at quarterback who until last week had never thrown a pass. In fact, had never played a game. Chris Jacquemin, a sophomore out of Painesville, Ohio, very athletic, and he just edged out Carlton Jackson for that starting quarterback spot. The Zips will throw on 1st down. A screen and a pretty good gain on 1st down. Nearly a gain of 9 to Brian Williams, the junior out of Akron Bucktail High School. Take a look at Akron in the backfield. Dennis Kennedy rushed for better than 900 yards last year despite missing almost 2 full games. Jabari Arthur coming off a monster debut, 11 catches for 125 yards and a touchdown. Chris Kemme, the left tackle, grew up about 5 miles from here and went to Upper Arlington High School, a first-team All-MAC performer. Williams in motion. They're going to put the ball in his hands again, and not much room. He is run down and thrown to the turf by Larry Grant.
Larry Grant on the tackle for the Buckeyes.
What they did was they spread out, no one in the backfield, and number 6, Larry Grant, makes the play. What they did was they tried to run a screen, a swing screen with 2 lead blockers, but Larry Grant was unblocked, came underneath the play, and spilled it for nearly a loss.
Well, as you can tell by now, it is a hurry-up offense for the Akron Zips team.
A little bit more of a no huddle. They're not hurrying a ton, Tom, but no huddle getting their plays from the sidelines.
Play clock down to 1. They barely get it off. And the handoff is to Kennedy, and he's out close to the 39-yard line. Defensively for the Buckeyes. Boy, you talk about young. 5 sophomores, a redshirt freshman, 4 juniors, only 1 senior. They lost Lawrence Wilson along their defensive front last week. Robert Rose, the man who replaces him. Laurinaitis, Mr. Everything for Ohio State in the middle. And in the secondary, Malcolm Jenkins, a first-team All-American candidate.
Akron just 2 for 12 last week, Tom, on 3rd downs.
They're going to cash in on 3rd down here, crossing midfield. And into Buckeye territory is Jabari Arthur, a senior out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
When you play against a spread style of offense, every coach will tell you tackling in open field or in space is critical. Look at the move Jabari Arthur, number 12, laid on Malcolm Jenkins, number 2. One of the better tacklers in the secondary, Jenkins. He was shaken on that play by Jabari Arthur.
For a gain of 16, Akron on the move, back-to-back first downs. Wide receiver on a short catch, and that again is Jabari Arthur. So he's off to the kind of start he had last week against Army. On the first drive by the Zips, he caught 4 passes for 53 yards and a touchdown. Charles, our Suzuki keys to the game.
For Akron, it's Rover and the Bandit, the 2 positions in the secondary that are hybrid safeties and linebackers. If they can wreak havoc on Ohio State's offense, that'll help Akron. For Ohio State, Becks and Beans, Todd Beckman, the quarterback, throwing the ball, and Beanie Wells, the running back. They need to get him started after a tough week in the opener.
Movement along the offensive front for Akron, and much like we talked about with Appalachian State last week.
Offense, number 74. That's a 5-yard penalty remains. 2nd down.
That is Steve Payman, our referee today. They can't make those kind of mistakes to have any hope today.
And they have such momentum going on offense right now. The last thing you want to do is shut things down.
That's Chris Kemme.
That's Chris Kemme, number 74, the young man who grew up, would you say, about 5 miles from here?
If that.
Upper Arlington High.
They fake the handoff. Jack Quamain under heavy pressure and throws it away. Denlinger trying to run him down along with Doug Worthington, who was the first one there.
They're liking what they're getting out of Doug Worthington, number 84. He's a guy who had to jump in this year with some losses along the defensive line. He's getting bigger and stronger during his career, and they say he's had an excellent fall.
4 receivers set here. Obviously 12, the guy to keep an eye on, Arthur at the top of your screen. The screen is batted down. The man you just talked about, Doug Worthington, got a paw on it.
And he read it so well. It wasn't just making an athletic play, it was a smart play. He read his keys, and when he sends screen, watch Worthington here, 84. When he sends his screen, see that? He's already onto the play. He's backing up into the pattern and uses that big paw to knock it away.
And that penalty really hurt them on that drive. They were 2nd and 3. It backed them up to 2nd and 8.
Yeah, you nailed that one as soon as it happened. You said Akron can't afford those types of penalties, and it came to pass. It stalled their drive.
John Steck to punt it from his own 45. Robisky will let it sail over his head, and then down inside the 3 by the Zips. Yamari Dixon flying down the field. Excellent work by Steck. So the Buckeyes start it from their own 3 on their 2nd drive.
The guy punting there, John Steck, I'm not sure how much work he needs to get done right now in his pooch kicking, because this one is absolutely perfect. It's going to pin Ohio State deep. Down by number 8, Yamari Dixon, the captain of the special teams for Akron. Ohio State has 98 yards to go now.
2 tight ends set. Johnson leading the way for Wells. And he's dropped. Is that a safety? Waiting for an official signal.
Depends on the ball spot. Looks like they're going to say he's outside of the end zone.
Yep. Breon Stokes again coming up to make the stop. And J.D. Brookhart saying, you sure?
Hey, Breon Stokes is off to an all-conference year right now. Not just today, boy, that's close, because Beanie Wells barely getting the ball out of the end zone. Watch where he's hit. See where he's hit, but watch where the ball lands. Right outside of the end zone. Ohio State fortunate on this play. There's the initial contact by Stokes, and the ball lands just past the goal line. Tom, Stokes had a terrific ball game last week.
I think they're replaying this, Charles.
Yeah, well, they should be, because you want to make sure you get this right. You do not want to take away a great play for Akron. See where the ball hit from that angle, it would be inconclusive. So you see, if they said right there from that angle, it'd be inconclusive. So you have to go with the play called on the field. That's Steve Payman, the referee, getting the word from up top. John Langan, the replay official. Let's take a look from this angle. Stokes with the hit, the contact down. Looks like the ball is hitting on the goal line. Now they have to determine whether he was far enough over the goal line. Again, from that angle, again, inconclusive there. Let's try this one again. He's reaching it out. The goal line, you see the goal line kind of underneath. Here's my, what was I, 0 for 1 last week on this, Tom? All right, I'm going to go for another one. They're going to say that the play will stand as called on the field.
All right, well, at least you're going out on a limb.
Why not?
Meanwhile, it is starting to rain here in Columbus, and that certainly was part of the forecast we heard last night and early this morning. And this part of the country has had very little, if any, rain the entire summer.
After review, video replay reverses the ruling on the field. The runner was down in the end zone, resulting in a safety.
I'm 0 for 2. I'm 0 for 2.
It's a safety. So Akron has a 2-0 lead after the great punt by Steck. Pinned Ohio State from its own 2-yard line on a first down carry by Wells. He's dropped in the end zone. 2-0 Zips.
The play that was made was terrific by Breon Stokes, who last week against Army came out and really played well. Last week he had 3 tackles for a loss, including a sack. Now he's got another tackle for a loss, including a safety. Breon Stokes playing at a very high level early in this season.
Now, we talked to Jim Bowman, the Ohio State offensive coordinator, about not naming an offensive lineman of the week, the Parker Award that they give out. And he said, well, the media and the fans made a much bigger deal out of that than I did. You guys, right? But clearly, I mean, untouched there was Stokes on an unquestioned running play on first down.
And I would never be one to question a coach who's in there every day in the trenches with his guys. But I watched a lot of the Youngstown State game. They did struggle up front, in my estimation. They had trouble moving people, even though they were playing 8 and 9 men in the box, which makes it harder. Ohio State's got to find a way to start knocking some holes in the defensive front.
Well, now they'll punt it, of course, from their own 20-yard line. And bringing it out across the 20, the 30, and lots of running room all the way out to the 47-yard line is Andre Jones. So all of a sudden the Zips here, and we're not even 5 minutes into the game, certainly have everything going their way, including a doused crowd.
And don't forget this, last week against Army, Akron was very strong in the return game. They had 274 total yards in returns, including the interception. But Andre Jones did a great job on punt returns, and Brian Williams did a great job on kickoff returns.
First down, Zips from the 47.
They've got great field position. Don't be surprised if they take a shot, since they think they might have Ohio State on their heels a bit.
Play clock down to 5. They just again get it off. Jack LeMaine under pressure, lofts it down the sidelines. A dangerous throw. And defended beautifully by Ohio State defensively. Malcolm Jenkins, hard to pick on him. Take a look at our yield guard, VT Triple, Defensive Player of the Week in the Big Ten last week. And that was Sean Lee of the Nittany Lions.
Dan Connor gets all the attention at Penn State, and rightly so, because he's a great linebacker. But Sean Lee made his presence felt against Florida International. Terrific opener for him.
They're coming after the quarterback. He's able to dump it off. And then Laurinaitis wraps him up from behind, maybe a gain of 2. That'll bring up third down and long for the Zips.
Watch the pressure immediately that flushes Jack LeMaine, the quarterback. That's Larry Grant, number 6. Worthington, number 84, with the second bit of contact on him. So he has to find a place to get rid of the football and had to flush it short, and Ohio State swallowed it up.
Third down and 8. They need to get to the Ohio State 43. They ran out of time.
Offense number 11. The 5 yards remains. Third down.
All these fans at Ohio Stadium knew the rain was in the forecast. They all brought plenty of rain gear, and they're making plenty of noise.
They got into their rain gear in less time it takes a sprinter to run a 40-yard dash. See if the defense coordinator, Jim Haycock, wants to heat up a young quarterback here.
Jack LeMaine through the hands and nearly intercepted by Jenkins right through the midst of Kennedy. So again, a big penalty by Akron, and they'll have to punt it away.
Exactly what Jim Haycock did, Tom. He brought an extra man on the pass rush, turned into a 5-man rush, and played defense behind it. And when the ball went off of Kennedy's hands, Malcolm Jenkins had to play in front of him, just unable to come up with the ball. That was a nice defensive possession for Ohio State.
Stuck a brilliant punt, which pinned Ohio State inside its own 2-yard line. The ensuing safety, and now Robisky stands at his own 17. Angling towards the sideline. Robisky lets it bounce, and all the way inside the 10 and down to the 7-yard line. Perhaps a mistake there by Brian Robisky.
What you always tell your punt returners is go get the football. Don't give up the hidden yardage.
A 51-yard boot by Steck.
Dave Revson in our Big Ten Network studios. Several Big Ten teams with impressive opening drives. Minnesota, one of them. Adam Weber, an 8-yard TD run as they open up the early 7-0 lead on Miami of Ohio. Redhawks just missed a field goal, Roger.
Dave, thank you very much. Miami picked second in the Eastern Division of the Mid-American Conference behind their bitter rivals, Ohio University. The Bobcats won that division last year. Akron picked third this year. And Chris Wells stumbles his way out to the 10-yard line. Much was made about Wells in his opening game performance. 16 carries, 48 yards. 20 of those came on one rushing attempt. And obviously this is the USA Today's High School Player of the Year.
Yeah, and they've been talking about him trying to find the holes to run through, as well as running, and that was the previous play on defense where Ohio State finished off the drive where they got an extra rusher on the play and finish things up. But they've got to find a way to get Chris Wells started if he's going to be the bell cow at tailback.
They fake the handoff. Beckman rolls out and dumps it off to his tight end, Rory Nickel. And he's out maybe a gain of 3. So another third down for the Buckeyes. They're looking for their first down today.
And the guy who made the tackle was number 19, John Mackey. Remember I talked about Rovers and Bandits? He plays one of those positions. A hybrid guy, strong safety, outside linebacker type, who's always around the football. Akron has a lot of quickness on defense. So anything you throw short, they feel like they can run it down.
Third down and 4 for Ohio State. They're coming after Beckman. He delivers a strike good enough for a first down. Again, it's a tight end, Rory Nickel, who only caught 1 pass last week, has back-to-back catches. They move the chains for the first time after a gain of 6.
And you can tell early in this game that Jim Fleming, the defensive coordinator of Akron, has a lot of confidence in his defense. Why? Because this is the second time, at least I've seen, where they've rushed 7 and played straight man-to-man in the secondary. See, they're not even playing with a free safety over the top. It's a one-on-one coverage, and he feels like his guys can play with the Ohio State guys.
Ohio State having to spend a timeout. It is a sluggish start, to say the least, for the Ohio State University offense. Play clock was all the way down to 2 seconds, and they had to spend their first timeout. Two nothing, Akron in front. 7:17 to play in the opening quarter. Take a look at our U.S. Bank Big Ten records. Only 3 losers in the conference last week. And the first significant run of the afternoon for Chris Wells. He's out across the 25-yard line. A gain of 6 for the sophomore out of Akron, Ohio.
So the obvious thing in the conference standings, of course, was Michigan's loss last week with Appalachian State. That's the first thing you focus on. Minnesota lost at home to a good Bowling Green team out of the MAC. And Illinois, of course, lost a rivalry game against Missouri.
Out of the I formation. Again, it's Wells, and that's been the story through the first game and nearly a quarter for Chris Wells behind his offensive line. Not much running room. A stop made by the junior linebacker from Tampa, Doug Williams. He also had help from Mr. Grant.
Too early to draw any conclusions, but based on what I've seen so far, it's a combo. Not much room to run, and Chris Wells is a little bit tentative at times. He might have to just put his head down and create his own space at times when there isn't anywhere to go.
Of course, Wells was injured an ankle in the spring. As you look at Jim Fleming, the third-year defensive coordinator for the Zips. Wells re-aggravated that ankle injury in the summer. And now they set up the screen to the freshman Brandon Sain, and what a play made in the open field by Reggie Corner. A preseason All-MAC performer in his 4th year as a starter for the Zips.
Watch to the left of your screen. Reggie Corner beats the block by the freshman Dane Sanzenbacher, number 12, and comes up underneath to finish off the play. Very nicely done on the corner by Mr. Corner.
So Adre Trapasso will punt from his own 10-yard line. Andre Jones waiting back. And a good punt by Trapasso all the way to the 25, and a fair catch made right there. A 50-yard boot by the junior from just down the road in Pickerington, Ohio. Well, now Akron will get the football with a 2-0 lead. 5:16 to play in the opening quarter, and certainly J.D. Brookhart has to feel very good about the way things are starting.
It looks like a corner man at a boxing match, doesn't he? Got the towel over his shoulder, but so far his team's doing their own punching.
They hand it off. Nope, keeping it. On the option is the quarterback, Chuck Quamain. And he's tripped up by Marcus Freeman and by Anderson Russell. Well, it's a show for all Big Ten fans, featuring highlights, analysis, interviews, and so much more. the Big Ten tonight, every night, right here on the Big Ten Network. 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Good pickup, 4 yards. And now Jack LeMaine looking over to the sideline and checking off. Play clock under 8.
Ohio State moving around a lot on defense to give him different looks.
They pick up the blitz and dump it off to Tuzzy. He runs over one tackler. The ball is loose. It looked like it was last touched by Ohio State, but went out of bounds. And so they have to spot it where it went out of bounds. Last touch by Donald Washington. And I believe it'll bring up 3rd down and short.
It should have been a 1st down, I think, Tom, because I thought Tuzzy right here after the big hit, and then Kurt Coleman pops the ball free. He was close to the 1st down marker, but as you noted, ball came out, and where it went out of bounds was behind the 1st down marker.
Well, Tuzzy, he is a load out of Mayfield, Pennsylvania, 230-pound fullback, and he just ran right through Washington.
And the quarterback is moved out. That's Dennis Kennedy, the tailback, taking the snap.
And he's going to keep it. And lunges forward, appears to be short of the 1st down.
Yeah, I think that Ohio State stopped them there. That's a formation that's become very popular now when you have a multi-purpose running back, a la Darren McFadden at Arkansas, where you shift the quarterback out, direct snap it to your tailback, and he can run or pass from that. Kind of like old single wing football.
Well, after that 3rd down and less than 2, Ohio State steps up defensively, denying Kennedy the 1st down, so the Zips will punt it.
Every now and then, Tom, you almost outguess yourself on offense.
Yep.
You got things working. Sometimes you just want to keep moving the ball the way you should be. Sometimes you're trying for a surprise. Doesn't pay off, and there's a, it deflates a team a little bit. You try something like, oh, coach, we were moving it.
Fumbled snap, but Steck able to get it off. Robisky from his own 25, and a crowd of Zips around him, and he is chopped down by John Mackey. And yes, that's the John Mackey who's their leading tackler on defense.
And what a great name, a Hall of Fame football name, John Mackey, the great tight end with the Baltimore Colts. This John Mackey is an all-conference Roverback.
Well, Big Ten fans, next Saturday the action continues on the Big Ten Network. It all begins with a pregame show, and we look ahead to prime time. After an early game, we'll feature the Wisconsin Badgers against the Citadel, but it'll be Duke taking on Northwestern. Or other regional action. Check local listings for the game in your market.
Pat Fitzgerald's Wildcats have a chance for a really nice start to their season.
Rain coming down even harder now. And Beckman rolling left to throw on 1st down. And it's caught by Brian Hartline. A 1st down out to the 41-yard line. A gain of 12.
Nice job by Beckman rolling. They slid the protection to his side, meaning the linemen move with him in order to protect in what they call front side. Allowed Beckman to set up and deliver downfield for a 1st down.
Well, Beckman better get him up to the line of scrimmage. A play clock down to 5. Maurice Wells, the lone setback, and he'll get the carry. Off the right side, and it's across the 45 to the 46-yard line. A gain of 5 for Maurice Wells, the decorated running back. Came out of Jacksonville, Florida, where he rushed for nearly 6,000 yards in his high school career. There was talk last year after Chris Wells came on board, and Antonio Pittman was only a junior last year, decided to go to the NFL. So there was talk about Maurice Wells perhaps transferring.
Trying to find a place to play. And now we've got 2 tailbacks on the field. Maurice Wells there and Chris Wells. So 2 tailbacks, no fullback.
Play fake to Chris Wells, and they roll out. Beckman, a 1st down throw. Again, Brian Hartline, the long, rangy sophomore out of North Canton, Ohio, had 2 catches last week. Back-to-back catches, a gain of 8 on this drive.
Get the sense that Jim Tressel and Jim Bowman, his offensive coordinator, don't feel like beating their heads against the proverbial brick wall. They're going to try and throw on non-throwing downs in order to try and loosen up this Akron defensive front that's shifting and moving and making it hard for them to run the football.
So the Buckeyes on the move, crossing into Akron territory for the first time today. And again they'll throw. Beckman, the long ball to Hartline. Incomplete. Step for step with him was DeVanzo Tate. And had help behind him from Andre Jones.
That was actually well covered by Akron. Tate, as you noted, step for step with Hartline and has good position on the outside. And Andre Jones coming from the inside to sandwich him over the top. Nice play by the safety. Always as deep as the deepest receiver if you're doing your job. Andre Jones was exactly that. But again, it was a first down throw, Tom. Non-traditional downs. Jim Tressel showing the ability to change up in play calling.
They're going to give it to Wells. And he's all the way down to the 24-yard line. So the first big gainer of the day, really the first big gainer of the year for Wells. He picks up 24, and he might be hurt.
So they throw the ball on 1st and 10, incomplete, come back with 2nd and long. Looks like it's a pass down. They go with a basic run, and Chris Wells breaks out for a huge gainer. But as you noted, Tom, comes off the field, seems to be holding his left side a little bit, and now he's bent over, almost like he's trying to work out something in his back. But look at the blocking up front. Great job, and a great job on the corner by number 86, Jake Ballard, the tight end, setting the point of attack and setting the corner.
Looked like Wells just came down hard on that hip.
Hopefully he'll be able to shake it off and get back out there.
Maurice Wells comes in, 1st and 10 at the Akron 23. And here is Maurice Wells. And coming up to make the play is Mackey, maybe getting back to the line of scrimmage as Wells. Now, we haven't heard a lot from Brandon Sane, the true freshman from Piqua, Ohio. Ohio's Mr. Football last year, a great student and a phenomenal athlete and runner. They think he has big days ahead at Ohio State.
See, they thought they were getting a guy around 200 pounds coming out of high school. What Coach Tressel tell us yesterday, 223 or something like that, and the guy's running a 10-3, 100 meters. That's power and speed there.
Fake the handoff, drop it off again. Nickel, the tight end, but right there with him, step for step. And able to make the tackle is Kevin Grant. 3rd down upcoming after a gain of 2.
I think what Jim Tressel and Jim Bowman are discovering is that throwing the ball short against Akron is difficult. Because of the 3-3-5, you have a lot of guys close to the line of scrimmage and an easy distance to cover the tight ends and the backs. So Jim Tressel trying to push it downfield a few times to try and loosen them up.
Chris Wells back in the game. First big 3rd down play for Ohio State. Beckman with good time. And throws intercepted down at the 6-yard line by Reggie Corner. So clearly miscommunication there between Beckman and Brian Hartline, who went to the inside rather than the outside, and a huge defensive stop for the Zips.
And that's one play where I think they'll tell Todd Beckman in the meeting, take the sack. Watch how he double clutches before he even throws it, see? Take the sack at that point. Or just try and put your head down and get something. And as you said, a miscommunication. You had receiver going one way, ball obviously going the other. Akron the beneficiary, so it's sudden change now for the Ohio State defense.
This will be the final play, perhaps, of the opening quarter. Rain continuing to come down rather hard. Isolated on the left side is Stefan Fuqua, and he is shoved out of bounds at the 5-yard line. Actually, the play clock continues to run, and that will wind it down to the end of the opening quarter. So through the first 15 minutes, they're shaking their heads in Columbus. Akron a 2-0 lead, and we're back to the Horseshoe after these messages. After a quarter here in Columbus, J.D. Brookhart has to feel extremely pleased the way things are going.
This is a field position possession for Ohio State.
And down the middle, through the hands of the intended receiver, Stefan Fuqua. Let's send it back to Chicago for an update. Here's Dave Revson.
Intended for 4, Stefan Fuqua.
Tom, a bit of an upset brewing for you guys, but things going according to the script in West Lafayette. Curtis Painter here hitting Greg Orton for his second touchdown pass of the day. Boilers on top of Eastern Illinois 17-3.
Well, Dave, thank you very much. Meanwhile, Donald Washington, a sophomore out of Indianapolis and a starting cornerback for the Buckeyes, is injured on the play.
Just making the play on the receiver. He goes through him. Ball's already gone, tries to strip him, and comes down, but he's walking off the field under his own power, so that's always a good sign.
Well, they love the future of Donald Washington. They talked about him last year, even though he was seeing, not going to say limited playing time, but
he's a nickel guy. Yep. But now he's a full-time guy. I said field position possession, Tom. Here it is, 3rd and long. Ohio State can get the ball back in great shape if they can stop him here.
3rd down and 7. They dropped into coverage. And it's incomplete. So a stop indeed defensively for the Buckeyes. Well, their defense has been lights out. But the same holds true for the Akron defense so far.
The only thing missing for Ohio State on defense is creating a turnover. They have not done that in their last 3 games going back to last year, which is unusual for an Ohio State defense. They're playing well, but they might need a turnover to help kickstart their offense.
Been a great start for the sophomore out of Delray Beach, Florida, John Steck. But this time he punts from his own end zone, and Brian Robisky stands in midfield. Takes a nice bounce for the Zips and continues to roll inside the 40. So another excellent job by John Steck, a 51-yard punt. But good field position for the Buckeyes. If you want behind-the-scenes access, then look no further than Coach's Q&A. The hour-long show that gives you nothing but the best quotes from your favorite Big Ten coach, as they'll break down Saturday's game and get you revved up for next week's matchups. Coach's Q&A Wednesdays at 7 Eastern on the Big Ten Network.
Tom, you've already noted how well Akron is playing on special teams in this game thus far. Doesn't hurt when your head coach puts his full attention to it. J.D. Brookhart is heading up the special teams for Akron.
Well, the aforementioned Brandon Sane comes on, and he carries across the 40 out to the 43-yard line. A gain of 4 for the freshman we talked about a moment ago, a true freshman from Piqua, Ohio. Not only Ohio's Mr. Football, but also the high school state champion in the 100 meters and the 400 meters.
And you know what they say about the 400 meters, don't you? That's a man's event. Because that's a full-out sprint, and that's a long way to go.
That's what you used to run.
No, I've made it about 200, and then I was done.
Sane still in the backfield. A play fake turn this time. And they're looking down the field for Robisky. And it's intercepted. Batted by the cover man into the hands of John Mackey.
And guess who made the play initially? We've talked about him as Reggie Corner, number 20. He was the cover man because Todd Beckman, this ball hangs up on him. Way too long in the air. You've got to lead the receiver. Robisky now goes and tries to play defensive back and knock it down, but it goes into the hands of the hustling John Mackey, the rover position player who makes the interception.
Wow, how about this start for the Akron Zips, leading 2-0 early in the second quarter. So the batted pass by Corner into the hands of Mackey. Second interception thrown by Todd Beckman, who did not have one last week. And the Zips have the football. And a first down carry is Alex Allen for a pickup of 2, and let's send it downstairs to Carissa Thompson.
Quick update on Donald Washington, who went down a couple plays ago. No official report from the Ohio State sidelines, but they did put a back brace on him, so it appears to be a lower back situation, but he is back in the game.
Carissa, thank you very much.
Well, she's a hustler, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
All over that one. Thank you for that update. Looks like he might have a little bit of strain based on that Bit of pain he showed there. 2nd and long now for Akron. We got the call time. Now look to the sideline for a possible check.
They hand it off again to Allen. And again, just not much running room. The Buckeyes are saying the football is loose. And is it?
See, no one in stripes making any movements. But you give it a shot, right?
Absolutely.
Inside handoff. If the defensive end crashes down inside, the quarterback pulls it out of the belly of the running back and takes it outside.
Third down at 7. Akron 1 of 5 on third down conversions today.
I think they're going to go after him right here. I think Ohio State wants to try and create a big play.
Well, the play clock nearly expired, so the Zips have to say, hang on a minute.
It's their first charge timeout.
Well, the crowd of over 105,000 looking for something, anything to get excited about. 2-0 Akron with 12:24 to play to the half.
This is the Big Ten Network.
Third down upcoming for the Akron Zips, leading 2-0 early on in the second quarter. They need to get to the 26 to move the chains. Jack LeMaine now flush out of the pocket and just throws it away. Under heavy pressure by Golston and Larimore.
It's a nice job by Jim Haycock, the defense coordinator for Ohio State. He showed pressure. It looked like Ohio State was bringing everyone, and at the last second they pulled out and went to 2 deep coverage, and I think that threw off Jack LeMaine's reads. See those guys looking, then they've been vacated out and went back and covered, and now he's looking to throw, and he sees Marcus Freeman in his line of sight. He sees number 5 Chimde Chikwa in his line of sight. Nowhere to go with the ball.
So now punting from his own end zone is Steck, or close to his own end zone, standing at his own 5. Steck has had an outstanding day today for the Zips. And another real good punt here. Robisky, the fair catch, and steps out of bounds at the 34-yard line. So while we have a moment, let's check in once again with Dave Revson from our studios in Chicago.
Ohio State not the only team that's in a little bit of trouble, Tom. Michigan State is as well. Tyler Sheehan of Bowling Green here to Tyrone Pronte. The Falcons tie this one up at 7. They are on the move again against the Spartans. We'll keep you posted. Tom?
Well, Dave, thank you very much. Those Mid-American Conference teams, Akron, another one of them. I'm not so sure how much you want to play some of these teams. They play good football in the MAC.
And they've done a nice job by creating a good rivalries with them. And look at the first 5 possessions for Ohio State. The safety, that's our lead, 2-0 on a tackle by Chris Wells in the end zone, and 2 interceptions.
Nickel, the tight end in motion. Wells alone set back. They fake it to him, and the end around the heart line looking for room. And he lunges forward, maybe a yard shy of a first down. A gain of 9 for Brian Hartline.
You never want to look at a 9-yard gain and sneer, Tom. But when you run reverses, when you run counters, when you run a little bit of trickery, you're hoping to break those plays bigger. And so if you're Akron, you're actually emboldened a bit by, okay, they ran a nice little, reverse at us. We held it to 9 yards. It didn't break big. It didn't become something that brings a crowd back into the game.
Second down carry for Wells, trying to break it to the outside, and he is grabbed by the face mask by Breon Stokes. Stokes hung in there after getting a stiff arm, but it looked like he got his hand on the face mask of Wells.
As he tried to reach up after the stiff arm, that's when the penalty occurred.
During the run, personal foul for face mask, defense number 43. That's a 15-yard penalty with an automatic first down.
He was reaching up trying to grab cloth. Instead gets the mask because Stokes makes a terrific play. Actually, he got it right initially. Right at the beginning he got him. It wasn't even after the stiff arm. So he was going to make the tackle first hand in. Ends up getting Wells by the face mask, which negated it. You see Akron last year, 111 penalties, most in the country. But look at the next three teams. Florida won the national championship with 110. USF, Arizona State, both bowl teams.
Only 78 yards of total offense for Ohio State through their first 21 plays on offense. And Chris Wells tripped it inside the 35 down to the 33.
Tom, what I found interesting when we looked at that graphic about Akron leading the country in penalties, you know, Florida wins the national title at 110. USF wins a bowl game. Arizona State goes to a bowl game. Sometimes penalties are a sign of a team that's aggressive in nature, not necessarily a team lacking in discipline.
Second down and 3. And Wells is wrestled down to the ground. Another nice play made by DeVanzo Tate in the open field.
You know what I think people are looking for with Chris Wells? Not being taken down one-on-one in open field. Because what's happening, Stokes first, even though he got the penalty. Watch this play by DeVanzo Tate. Number 5, excellent job keeping his feet. Normally, the great backs, the first guy one-on-one, he misses, or you plow through him. That's what people are looking for more of from Chris Wells.
Third down and 3 for the Buckeyes. Sane and Wells in the backfield, and Beckman to throw. Short drop. Robisky first down to the 20. Robisky, a huge game in a season opener. 9 catches for 153 yards. That's his first catch today.
I like the read by Todd Beckman, the quarterback. He's got a back looping out and coming right in that area. Here comes Robisky. Is coming into the area in the middle because you got the back looping. Sometimes that attracts the attention. Now you get the ball stuck in the middle of the zone.
2 tight ends in for the Buckeyes, and again they hand it to Wells. Runs into his own lineman and picks up maybe 3.
He ran into Steve Raring, number 71, who was making a move to try and get into the hole ahead of him. But what I liked about the run there, even though it wasn't a super impressive run, was he just put his head down and just kept moving forward. Once he bumped into the lineman, he just kept plowing. I'm going to get as much as I can on this play.
Wells comes off the field. Maurice Wells comes in, joined in the backfield by Sane on second down at the Akron 17. Beckman to the corner for Robisky, and there's just nothing there. I mean, isolated in coverage with DeVanzo Tate. That's 4 or 5 times today. They've either gone to Robisky against Tate or hardline against corner, and they're just being blanketed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was trying to get done there. I'm not sure, you know, if he thought he was going to try and get him in the back of the end zone. There should have been a little more arc on the ball trying to get it there. Look more of like a flat throw. Excellent coverage on the corner by DeVanzo Tate.
Well, third down upcoming. Beckman is hit on 7 of 13, only 44 yards and 2 interceptions. Play clock down to 2. They get it off. Beckman across the middle. Hardline juggled it. Hangs on. First down, Ohio State, and a penalty flag is down on the near side of the field along the sideline.
It's a nicely run route by Hartline. Very aggressive in running his route to shake free.
Illegal shift on the offense. Number 34 and number 88 both did not set for 1 second prior to the snap. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It remains third down.
So the route by Hartline negated by an error by Ohio State in movement to their formation on offense. We talked about Akron being able to not being able to afford those penalties. Ohio State had a first down that got negated by a penalty.
So now they're backed up all the way to their own 22-yard line. Third down and 12. They need to get to the 10 to convert. And Beckman just dumps it off to Wells. But white jerseys all around him, and he just gets back to the line of scrimmage.
And really, that should go as a lateral. That should not go on Todd Beckman's passing record, because the way he threw that, that's a lateral, should be a running play, which doesn't help much because there's no first down, but that'll be a distinction in the statistics. And a nice job outside. Is that Brandon Anderson, number 28? Excellent tackle in the open field.
So now Ryan Pretorius, the backup kicker last year to Aaron Petrie, won the job in the summer this year. 37-yard field goal attempt out of the hold of John Toma, and this one is hammered right down the gut. So the Buckeyes at the 7:54 mark of the opening half are finally on the board. And no, this is not a baseball game. This is Ohio State 3, Akron 2.
I'd like a personal checking account.
Well, I'm all ears. What's your name?
Rob Lee.
All right, Bill, can I call you Willie? Emma, how about a cup of coffee for Frank here?
Rob.
I heard that. You married Ernesto?
No.
A little something for the missus.
Here's your milkshake, Kenny.
Rob.
Personal checking at other banks isn't always personal.
I need you here, Teddy.
U.S. Bank checking is built around you with interest on balances, free internet bill pay, free ATMs, and the most reward choices, even cash back. U.S. Bank, 5-star service guaranteed. How many stars does your bank have?
Bye, Murray.
Ohio State a 3-2 lead nearly midway through this second quarter in Columbus. And the Holiday Inn Express scoring drive for the Buckeyes, culminating on that field goal from 37 yards away from Pretorius. 9th place, 46 yards. But of course they had that reception made by Hartline that would have made it 1st and goal from a 7, negated by a penalty. From his own 7, it's Brandon Anderson. And great special teams coverage by the Buckeyes. That's Brian Roll, and boy, do they like his future. A linebacker out of Florida.
A true freshman whose cousin Antrell is a starting cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals. But how about this speed and aggression right there by Brian Roll? Look at the closing speed on the kickoff. Great. That's just terrific play there, Tom.
Well, they have some dynamite young players on the defensive side of the ball at Ohio State.
Well, maybe we know why he was so fast. They were offsides on the kickoff coverage, because many coaches have told me already, with kicking from the 30, the extra 5 yards, an offense on a normal kickoff, most kickoffs they estimate will land around the 8 or 9 yard line. They figure they should never start offense any less than the 25 yard line, and most times at the 30 or beyond.
Pretorius down to kick off from the 25 yard line. Jones and Anderson to receive for Akron.
Well, now they'll kick it from a 25 rather than the 30. Well, we talk about the Roll and Tyler Moeller and Thaddeus Gibson. Some of these freshmen, redshirt, true freshmen for the Buckeyes. Brian Williams from the 10. And again, racing down the field is Roll once again.
They gained only about 6 yards after the penalty in terms of field position.
And it looks like Akron is going to change quarterbacks. We talked about during last spring, Chris Jacqueline along with Carlton Jackson were duking it out to become the starter at quarterback. And Jacqueline barely won the job. Both, in fact, were injured. And it was the final game in the spring where Jacqueline won that job. But now we get a look at the sophomore out of Pompano Beach, Florida, Carlton Jackson. A southpaw. And his first pass attempt complete, but a short gain of 3 to Brian Williams out of the backfield.
Nice job by Kurt Coleman, number 4, forcing the play. But going back to Carlton Jackson playing quarterback, this is what they script into their game plan. As you pointed out, Tom, that quarterback competition was so close. Jacqueline won the job, but kind of almost as a consolation, Jackson will play 1 series in the second quarter at least before Jacqueline comes back in.
Handoff to Kennedy. And that did not fool anybody on Ohio State. Ross Holman, sophomore out of Coldwater, Ohio, had 6 tackles in the opening week win, takes Kennedy to the ground.
Terrific play by Holman, number 51. Nice job staying in the hole, keeping his feet, not being fooled and wrapping him up. But you know who's going to be a little frustrated is Dennis Kennedy. He originally committed to Ohio State, thought he would be a Buckeye. Instead ended up at Akron. You know he wants to play well here today.
Yeah, it was all over a clerical error, transcript there.
Exactly.
Out of the NCAA clearinghouse. And the Buckeyes had to let him out of that scholarship. And here they come after Jackson. Hit as he threw. And it's 3 and out for the Zips, but a penalty flag is down on the field.
Not a real surprise. Guess who's going to put the pressure on Carlton Jackson? Number 50, Vernon Golston, with some help from number 33, James Laurinaitis.
An eligible receiver, number 83, was downfield. He was covered up on the line. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
When they talk about covering someone up on the line, that means the tight end is probably in a 3-point stance in his normal spot on the line, and a receiver on his side needs to be a yard behind him, off of him. On that play, the receiver's probably on the line of scrimmage. That's called covering him up, thus making him an ineligible receiver.
Well, now with 6:18 to play until halftime, the Buckeyes will get the football back. As Robisky stands at his own 35. Certainly one of the most valuable players in this game for Akron so far today has been their punter, John Steck. He has had an outstanding game. And another booming punt. Great hang time. Robisky has to call for a fair catch. A 46-yard boot by Steck, who's had a couple of 50-plus so far today.
Have to give him a rub down at the half.
Our Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report coming up shortly. Of course, Dave and company will take a look around the Big Ten, highlight stats from all the teams in the Big Ten Conference. Some games already underway and some coming up later, including Notre Dame at Penn State.
That game is huge, especially for Penn State, because they got beat 41-17 last year in South Bend. You know they want to hit today to be a payback day.
On the ground of Brandon Sane, and he is across the 35, bringing would-be tacklers along with him. A gain of 6 for Brandon Sane.
Nice job by the freshman, running with his eyes, as they say. Watch how he reads number 63 Person coming around, sees the block and cuts inside of it, and then he lowers his shoulder and his head and gains additional yardage. One of the toughest things to learn as a running back is pace of the game and being able to read blocks and see holes. Brandon Sane did all of that on that play.
Sane again, and looking for a hole and take what he can get, and a late flag comes in from the referee long behind the line of scrimmage, and that'll be holding against Ohio State.
You don't see that flag very often coming from the referee behind the play. So I would say that it had to be glaring for Steve Payman to reach and pull it out and throw it.
During the run, holding offense number 88. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot remains, 2nd down.
That's Rory Nickel, the tight end. Right there was the takedown.
All right, Charles, in layman's terms, what is going on with the Ohio State offense here today after a pretty impressive debut last week?
I think that they're having the same struggles they had against Youngstown State, being able to really move people up front and finding guys to block. The 3-3-5 is really confusing their blocking angles right now.
A 2nd down, and Beckman to throw, and loses his footing on this slick turf all the way back to the 17-yard line.
It's brand new field turf. They replaced the grass after last year, and it usually takes about a full season to get this field to settle in perfectly. It's going to be slick when rain hits it, and that's exactly what happened. Todd Beckman's plant feet went right out from underneath him. Never had a chance to make a play downfield. Now it's 3rd and a long, long way.
Well, you're not lying. We're going to call it 3rd and 22. Ohio State needs to get all the way out to the 39-yard line. The Buckeyes have converted just 2 of 6 3rd down attempts.
If I'm Jim Fleming, the D coordinator, I'm going to play zone here. Rush my 4, drop into zone. I want the football back.
And on 3rd down, they're going to keep it on the ground. Is Sane across the 20 to the 22. So hearing boos for the first time today at the Horseshoe in Columbus. They are not happy with what they're seeing out of this Ohio State offense behind first-year starting quarterback Todd Beckman.
We had a nice conversation with Jim Bowman, who's the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, and he really kind of downplayed the troubles they had last week in the run game. He said, we're going to be fine. I think they need to get after these guys a little bit. These big fellas up front have to show why they're offensive linemen at Ohio State.
Trapasso just hammers one, sending Andre Jones back to the 19. He avoids 1 tackle. And has a little daylight. A flag comes in. He brings it out to the 32. 58-yard punt by Trapasso. A 14-yard return, but we wait on the penalty.
Flags on kick plays usually not good for the receiving team, are they? That's kind of one of the easy rules of thumb when watching a football game.
Illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 46. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Amin Kabir, the guilty party.
Well fielded by Jones. Makes a nice move initially to avoid the first guy. Before he's taken down, the penalty happened behind the play. There's Kabir, backup linebacker.
And Jack LeMaine comes back in at quarterback.
By
Jackson
design.
Got 3 and out.
Ohio State needs to force a turnover.
Coming up to make the play is Denlinger.
They like him, Tom, don't they?
Or Larimore, I beg your pardon.
But you know they like Larimore and they like Denlinger in there. They like both of them, big motor guys. Larimore, a high school wrestling champ. They like his low base and the way he plays with his hands.
They're just so young all over the field on defense, this Ohio State team. It is just astounding how much youth there is out there. Play clock at 3, 2. Just did get it off. And a quick throw caught in the open field out to the 22-yard line by Poindexter, the backup tight end. So third down upcoming for the Zips. We remind you they are the Big Ten's greatest games, and you can catch them every week, reliving the moments that define the conference's great, rich tradition. The Big Ten's greatest games, Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central on the Big Ten Network. Timeout called by the Ohio State defense. 3rd and long upcoming. They're hoping for a stop and hoping to get the football back one more time. Jim Haycock, their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think that's a nice call by Jim Tressel. Conserve some more time for your offense. You have a lot of confidence in this defense. You talk about how young they are, but the great thing about this team is while they're young, they're making every mistake they make at full speed in terms of defense. They're not afraid to go out and smack you. They're going to run plays down. And this is how Akron scored early. Breon Stokes, the linebacker, tackles Chris Beanie Wells near the goal line. And after a replay, they overturned the call on the field and gave Akron the 2 points.
Only 1 of 7 on 3rd down is Akron today. And Jack LeMaine, good protection across the middle. Batted ball. And incomplete. And very upset with himself for not making the interception is Anderson Russell, who's back healthy again after starting the year as their starting free safety last season. Got hurt against Iowa and missed the rest of the year.
Zone blitz. They dropped Doug Worthington, number 84, out of the line to drop back. And 2 weeks in a row now, Anderson Russell has a clean interception in his hands, and it slips through. But the coverage was excellent.
So now Ohio State, with only 1 timeout remaining, will get the football. And they have dropped 2 now. Hardline along with Robisky waiting on his punt.
They want better field coverage, Tom, because of Steck's directional punting.
Hardline across, and the ball is loose. Scramble for the football. It looked like Akron recovered it as it was knocked out of the hands of Brian Hardline. Back in punt coverage for the first time today, and it is Akron football. The strip by Yamari Dixon.
Their special teams captain. And boy, is he a terror on there. Looks like Doug Williams, the linebacker, comes up with the ball after the strip by Dixon. Dixon was their special teams player of the year last year, was voted captain of the special teams this year, and he's been involved in 2 of the biggest plays. Killing the ball on the 2-yard line earlier today, and now this one.
3rd turnover for Ohio State, 2 on interceptions. And now the fumbled punt return by Brian Hardline. And it's the Zips who have the ball with 2:25 to play and 2 timeouts remaining.
And that turnover stat we just saw, Tom, that's the type of stat of which upsets are made. When you get a big advantage in the turnover category.
Well, take a look at this formation.
Yeah, they brought him back inside because he's worried about the blocking and the protection. Now he empties him out again. Double pass maybe.
And it is. Kennedy throwing to his intended target. And great coverage, beautifully read that time by Donald Washington. You know, Kennedy was the only quarterback coming back, the only player coming back from last year to this year that had actually thrown a pass in a game.
And he was 2 for 2 for big yardage. And what they tried to do was run him laterally, swing the ball out, which they did. They used their tight end, Chris Kasparic, as the personal protector for him. And they were hoping to get something deep, but Ohio State diagnosed it quite well.
2:19 to play. Jack LeMaine, the screen to Kennedy. And Marcus Freeman wrapped him up. Ball came loose, but they said it was down. So no fumble. The clock continues to run under 2 minutes now from the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio Stadium, where much like last week when we were in Ann Arbor, 109,000 there, 105,000 here. And leading up to halftime, the faithful are in disbelief.
Just a tad restless. But this Ohio State defense, Tom, I think is terrific. When they start adding the turnover takeaway component to this defense, I think they'll just be dynamite.
Third down and 12. And dragged down is Jack LeMaine by the true freshman, Cameron Hayward. The Georgia 5A class Defensive Player of the Year. He is the son of Craig Ironhead Hayward and the stepson of Corey Blackwell, of course, who played at Wisconsin.
Pretty good football family he's got going there.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good lineage. And this is a guy that when you ask people questions, all right, tell me about this freshman Hayward, their eyes just light up. They go, boy, he's not there yet, but he's going to be. He is going to be a player. And we just saw evidence of that on that play. How about that quick first step on the rush? Wow.
Well, they've got a pile of young, hungry, talented defensive linemen here.
You know, they had 2 punt returners back on the last one to cover the field because of Steck's directional punting. Now they've gone back to just one guy back there. Let's see if Steck can kick it away again.
Well, they're coming after the punt. Steck able to get it away. Robisky from the 22. Out across the 30 to the 33-yard line. 1 timeout remains for Ohio State, and 24 seconds remain until halftime.
Let's see if Ohio State decides to do something here, maybe run some type of a draw or a screen, hoping to get nice yardage and maybe try and do something before the half. If they don't, they might just say, all right, that's it. Let's take it and go in and regroup.
Return to the 34-yard line. Ohio State football, 1st and 10.
Well, a 2 tight end set, which would lead you to believe they're going to just stay on the ground and go to halftime, and that is Chris Wells. And he's out to the 40.
Yeah, not enough there to go hurry up and try and do something else. They'll go in at the half, talk about it, and start over.
So after putting up 38 points against Youngstown State last week, despite a slow day by Chris Wells, the Buckeyes managed just 3 points in the opening half today, which is good enough for a 1-point lead at halftime. Coming up, the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. In fact, right now, let's send it to Dave Arepson and company in Chicago.
This is the Big Ten Network.
Welcome back to Ohio Stadium in Columbus. We're at halftime where the Akron Zips trailed the Ohio State Buckeyes, the 12th ranked team in the nation, by a 3-2 score coming off the field a short while ago. Jim Tressel joined our Carissa Thompson.
Coach, clearly not the first half that you wanted. Turnovers, penalties, maybe confusion on the 3-3-5 defense. Biggest adjustment you have to make to turn this thing around in the second half?
Well, you've got to do the things that it takes to win. First, you have to take care of the football. You can't turn it over 3 times and beat a good team. They did a nice job on a couple special teams plays, dropped the ball down in there and got us in tough field position. We just got to settle down and get a lot more consistency on offense and keep applying pressure with our defense.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
And the first Buckeye to be an All-American in singles.
Carissa, thank you. Coach Tressel, thank you. The Buckeyes make their way out of the tunnel. When we come back, the second half from Columbus on the Big Ten Network.
Big Ten football is here. It's the home opener for Albert Young and the Iowa Hawkeyes as they clash with the Syracuse Orange, live from Kinnick Stadium in prime time. Tonight in high def, only on the Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network football is brought to you by Yield Guard VT Triple, the yield protection system. By Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. And by the all-new Ranger RZR. See it up close at your local Polaris Ranger dealer. Now, certainly concerned faces of the Buckeye faithful. Just a 3-2 lead at halftime. Tom Brenneman alongside Charles Davis. Great to have you with us on the Big Ten Network on this Saturday afternoon. Charles, we go inside some of the numbers, the Polaris halftime statistics, and anything really jump out at you. Obviously not a lot of offense, so both teams must feel real good about their defenses.
Yeah, the only stat that matters to me right now besides the score is 3 turnovers by Ohio State to 0 by Akron. That's the stat that matters now. We talked about how upsets get fashioned. Well, if you turn the ball over and over and over and give the underdog an opportunity, that's how it happens. Ohio State obviously has to correct that. That's the only stat that really jumps at me.
Well, obviously, as far as the rushing numbers are concerned, those aren't bad for a half for Ohio State, but it just never felt like, Charles, they ever got anything at all going. You say, well, no kidding, dum-dum. It's only 3 points they've scored. But, I mean, it never felt like they even sustained any kind of a lengthy drive in the opening half.
There was no flow. Consistency was the word Coach Tressel used at the half in his interview with Carissa. When Carissa Thompson talked to him, he said it's consistency on offense that they need in the second half. And that's where they had the trouble. Most of that yardage, a couple of good runs. Other than that, bottled up.
Well, Charles, let's go back and revisit your Suzuki keys to the game.
Well, I said Rover and the Bandit. The Rover position and Bandit position, the hybrid strong safety outside linebacker, often can wreak havoc and cause problems. The Rover, John Mackey, a couple of big hits and an interception for Akron. Becks and Beans, Todd Beckman's passing. Beanie Wells, the running back. He got on track for one big run, but the rest of the half he struggled, and Todd Beckman threw 2 interceptions in the first half. That has to change for the Buckeyes.
Wells 11 carries, 47 yards for Ohio State. And not a good opening half for Beckman in his second collegiate start. Trying to replace a Heisman Trophy winner, Troy Smith. And Williams trying to cut it to the outside and lost his footing. First down, Akron from the 18. Let's check in once again with Carissa Thompson.
Coach, your defense is doing a nice job of stopping Ohio State. You got to like your position coming into the second half here, but offensively, you have only put 2 up on the board. What do you got to do to change that?
Well, I think one, you're playing a great defense. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to make a big play here or there. We got to continue to run the clock, to be in the game in the fourth quarter and have a chance to win it, and that's our goal. And defensively, they put us in position to do that. So we got to get a return. We've got to get something going, a big pass play, get a run. But we'll continue with our plan to see where we end up.
Gotta be happy with where you're at right now. Thanks a lot, Coach.
First down throw. Was it caught or was it a short hop? It is a reception made by Brandon Williams on first down. And that'll be a gain of 5 for the Zips as the second half is now underway in Columbus.
I would not be surprised to see the offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead, continue to try and throw those types of passes with Chris Jacquelmain. You know why? Get out to the corner, get on the edges, make them one-on-one tackles on a wet field. Advantage goes to the offense.
Here comes Laurinaitis. Well, the All-American from Hamill, Minnesota with a big sack.
Coming right at you on a nice stunt. Ross Holman, number 51, went one way, attracted the blockers, and James Laurinaitis came unblocked and gets a huge sack.
Third down, Golston drops Jacquelmain. Well, the offense might not be much so far, but this defense has been dynamite.
Vernon Golston, number 50, right out of the stance. He just goes right around number 75, Corey Woods, the young redshirt freshman. He does not have nearly enough quickness to contain Vernon Golston on the speed rush from the outside.
Couple of key injuries, we're told, at halftime for the Zips. Yamari Dixon, who was so special on special teams in the opening half, had to leave the game with some kind of an injury. So too for Alex Allen, who got a couple of carries out of their backfield. So an early timeout spent by Ohio State. A strong defensive start for the Buckeyes here in the second half. 3 and out for Akron, including back-to-back sacks. And now Speck out of his own end zone. Hammers one to the sideline, fielded by Robisky at the 47. And about a 4-yard return, but the Buckeyes will start the second half with great field position at the Akron 48-yard line.
And it was a good job of coaching by Ohio State, because Akron came out with that running rugby kick, trying to keep the ball away from one of the safeties back deep. But Ohio State had double safeties. He's Malcolm Jenkins and Brian Robisky to make sure they had field coverage. If he's not there, Tom, if it's one safety, that ball hits and continues to roll and helps change field position in Akron's favor. Instead, Ohio State gets the advantage of good field position.
Well, Chris Wells, alone setback behind the quarterback, Todd Beckman. And a short drop, a quick throw, and Hartline pushed out of bounds at the 39-yard line. A gain of 9, covered by corner.
Tackle out of bounds by Reggie Corner.
Easy throw for Todd Beckman, it appears, but this is a long throw to the sideline, so you have to have good pace on it and make sure that the receiver isn't covered. Nice job of reading by Todd Beckman and delivering it to Brian Hartline.
7 of 13 in the opening half for Beckman for just a total of 44 yards. They give it to Wells. He slips off the left side and spins his way to the 35, a first down for Ohio State.
Nice job on the left side of the Ohio State offensive line. Coming at you, look to the left. That's number 71, Steve Raring. 64, Jim Cordell. 86 is Jake Ballard, the tight end. They chopped up enough of a hole to get Chris Wells the first down.
Beckman this time out of the shotgun. They're coming after him. He read it beautifully and finds Hartline inside the 30, a gain of 7.
It's a nice pattern there, Tom, because what you end up with is 2 options. See, you've got the ball in there to Hartline, but behind him, if they start to jumping inside and taking away that route, you're swinging the back out of the backfield. That's the second option for Todd Beckman to throw to.
Well, again, Beckman out of the shotgun on a 2nd down and 3. They give it to Wells, and no room there. Nate Robinson, the nose tackle, met him at the line of scrimmage. 3rd down upcoming for Ohio State.
Robinson's a big transfer out of Rutgers. When you talk with people, they immediately say he's got the kind of body that can take him a long way if he just puts it all together. A little more consistency needed. He actually got the start today. Had been listed as a 2nd-teamer, but he played well against Army.
6'5", 315. Mercy.
That's a lot of man.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of man inside.
See the numbers on Beckman after a couple of hits here to start the second half. He has another. Sanzenbacher, the freshman, out of Toledo, Ohio. He had 2 receptions in his first game ever at Ohio State last week, including a touchdown. Dane Sanzenbacher.
They really like that young man. He's got moxie. But watch these guys here up front. This is a good job. While people have been maligning them in the run game, they handled the pressure that Akron brought. Because Jim Fleming, defense coordinator, likes to bring pressure. That time they handled it well enough for a first down.
Beckman just throws it away.
Yeah, that's one of the better balls he's thrown today, Tom. You know why? He recognized nothing was there. Let's not force it. Let's not try and make something happen that we can't. Come back 2nd and 10. Let someone either have a souvenir or someone is going to touch it that ordinarily does it. But it's not going to be one of those guys in a white shirt on defense.
Certainly part of the growing pains. I mean, it's one thing to be around here for 4 years and get reps in practice. It's an entirely different ball game on the field against an opponent. And they're coming after Beckman. He steps up and again finds Hartline for a very short gain. So another third down presents itself for the Ohio State offense. That's a gain of 4.
Once again, the Ohio State offensive line handled the pressure. They're bringing 5 guys coming at Todd Beckman after showing a 3-man front. Now I'm anxious to see if Jim Tressel and Jim Bowman kind of go to the counter to that. They've hit Hartline inside a few times in that same route. Do you go to the counter, show him inside, and swing it outside to someone else?
A 3-receiver set for the Buckeyes. That's a tight end nickel in motion. And again, they're coming after Beckman. Guns across the middle and batted down. Great coverage by Reggie Corner. Robisky tried to beat him, but Corner has been with him all day. So the Ohio State drive stalls at the 15.
Nice coverage. Reggie Corner has played a heck of a game out there today, hasn't he? I mean, he's already got an interception, couple passes broken up. One of them resulted in another interception by John Mackey, the Rover back. They've had a hard time making plays when number 20's been in the area. 33-yard field goal try by Ryan Pretorius, who hit from 37 earlier. And this one right down the middle again. So Ohio State, after a 3-and-out stop on defense, had great field position, but only able to turn it into 3. Their lead is 4. Well, the Ohio State offensive line getting an earful over there on the sideline. Take a look at our Holiday Inn Express Ohio State scoring drive. 9 plays, 35 yards, capped off by a Pretorius 33-yard field goal. 6-2 Ohio State in front. And we are in the 3rd quarter in Columbus. Pretorius, a line drive kick. That is Brian Williams, who lets it bounce through the end zone, and the Zips will get it at the 20. And of course, last week we saw the stunning upset in Ann Arbor, Appalachian State over Michigan. What a huge play. This is absolutely unbelievable. One of the greatest upsets in sports history. Of course, they had the end of that game on the Jumbotron here in Columbus after their game ended in a victory over Youngstown State. We understand some 20,000 fans were still hanging around. We heard the roar in Ann Arbor when we were there.
Jack LeMaine, a throw, and Donald Washington coming up to wrap up. The receiver, no gain on the play. Jabari Arthur made the reception, but nowhere to go.
That's a beautiful play out on the corner by Donald Washington. You always talk about one-on-one open field tackling as a very difficult skill. And in the first half, Ohio State missed on a few of those. Not that time by Donald Washington.
32 plays, 39 yards of offense today for the Akron Zips. Trying to add to that total to Kennedy. He shakes one tackler, but can't escape Austin Spittler. Spittler had a big game in his Ohio State debut last week, coming up with 7 tackles and a sack.
They ran that play earlier, Tom, but remember that was the double pass they threw with Dennis Kennedy. On this play, they're just swinging it out to him, hoping to get a wall of blockers, but Larry Grant forced the play before he was wrapped up by Spittler. Akron has to push the ball downfield more to try and move back the Ohio State defenders. They are all snug on the receivers right now. They don't respect their deep speed.
Here they come. Jack LeMaine in and out of the hands. How in the world did the freshman Thaddeus Gibson not hang on to that one?
3 dropped interceptions for Ohio State in 2 weeks now. 2 by Anderson Russell. That one, Thad Gibson, is not going to get any better than hitting you between the 3 and the 7 and open field. But a great job in coverage. Gets right into the proper zone, gets underneath the receiver, And all he's got to do is catch it, and they're screaming his name in Ohio Stadium.
So again, this Ohio State defense, 3 and out, trying to give the offense great field position yet again. And again, Ohio State, you talked about it the last punt. They bring in 2 deep to guard against the angle punt from John Steck. And this time, he just puts a leg on it. Malcolm Jenkins is tackled soon as he caught it. At the 38-yard line, John Mackey on the tackle after a 43-yard punt from Steck. Well, we showed you earlier the dotting of the I in Script, Ohio, from the Ohio State marching band earlier. Our Liberty Mutual alumni spotlight turns back the clock to last season when Ohio State alum Jack Nicklaus dotted the I.
Normally that goes to a celebrity. I mean, not a celebrity. I'll finish it after this play.
Wide open Robisky. And the first big gainer in the passing game today.
And finally a roar like Jack Nicklaus received when he dotted the I when he came back. The crowd has their ponchos off because there's some sunshine again, and they're able to get out of their seats. Beckman rolls out, hits Robisky, and that looks like what Ohio State the fans came to see today.
Play gains 39 yards.
Great job catching him between the corner and the safety.
39-yard gain. Wells able to shake a couple of tacklers, and he's inside the 20, down to the 19. A gain of 4 for Chris Wells. 13 carries, just 50 yards today for the man nicknamed Beanie.
You wonder about the ankle just a little bit, Tom, because I know he's supposed to be healthy, but he hurt it in the spring, hurt the same one again in the fall. Sometimes it takes a while before your mind really tells you that it's totally right. You run with the same abandon that you normally do.
After that carry, now 14 rushes for 54 yards. They're going to give it to him again. Still on his feet. Close to a first down. Needed to get just inside the 13. It looked like he got there.
And that's more like it. That run was more of an angry run, an explosion run. Watch it, coming right at you. Being led by Deontay Johnson. There's number 75, Alex Boone, and the pile moved backwards. That's what you want to see, how they finish a run, and Chris Wells did that.
It was good enough for a first down. Wells a third straight time to the corner. Did he get in? No. Shoved out of bounds inside the 3 at the 2-yard line. He stiff-armed Devanzo Tate.
And a great job reading his offensive line because the play was designed to go inside. It's supposed to go there. He bounces it out there because of what he read from his blockers. Good job running with his eyes, with vision, Chris Wells. I say come right back, Tom, and tell your offensive line this drive does not finish until a running back carries it into the end zone. Come right back with it.
Deontay Johnson in front of Wells in the I formation. It's Wells, and the play blown dead. I think they ran out of time. Or was there early movement?
Offense, number 88. That's a 5-yard penalty, remains.
That's the second or third time today that Rory Nickel has been involved in either a false start or a shift.
And you know, that changes your whole mindset, because right there you've got momentum and you're going to go pound at them. Now you've got to come back maybe with a different play call. See, there's the jump. Because they were coming right back with Wells pounding up. Now they're going shotgun and spreading out a little bit.
Robisky isolated in the bottom of your picture. I bet they're looking for him. Nope. Boy, dangerous throw there by Beckman. I mean, great coverage on Brian Hartline by the free safety Andre Jones.
Now, how many times have we seen them run that pattern this half, Tom? A good handful, right? Now you're also run out of space to run it because the field's condensed, which means the defensive backs aren't retreating the same as they do out in the field. Now they're just going to get into a spot and stay there. It makes it harder to run that underneath route if you haven't pushed them back.
2nd and goal, Buckeyes at the 6-7.
2nd and goal. Brandon Sane. Maybe a couple. We welcome those of you watching the Eastern Illinois and Purdue game. Obviously, bad weather there, stopping play. It's been a rainy day in Columbus. And just a few moments ago, the sunshine breaks through. Ohio State has been held in check to just 6 points on offense. Their defense has stymied Akron. A safety, the only scoring for the Zips. 3rd and goal for Ohio State. First time today we've seen Sane and Wells in the same backfield. And it's Sane to the end zone. Touchdown, Buckeye!
The strong safety, roverback John Mackey, number 19, forces Beckman to get rid of it quickly, but he does it with enough pace on it that Sane's able to handle it and get into the end zone. 127 straight games with a touchdown for the Buckeyes.
Point after by Pretorius, good. So for the first time today, Ohio State on offense with a touchdown. And a 13-2 lead with 6:10 to play in the 3rd quarter. We'll be back in a moment. Brandon Sane, his 2nd career touchdown, the true freshman out of Pickwood. On the reception from Todd Beckman, our Holiday Inn Express scoring drive, 62 yards, 7 plays. And the offensive line, very impressive for the first time today, as you pointed out, Charles Davis.
Yeah, I think for the first time in 2 ball games. And they did a great job on that drive. If there had not been a penalty, I think they would have gone ahead and pounded it in. And that's how Akron scored their points in the ball game. A safety against Chris Wells by Breon Stokes.
That was in the very first quarter, 2nd drive of the game, in fact, for Ohio State. And hustling down on the kickoff coverage. Good special teams coverage indeed today for Ohio State. Aaron Gant, the first man there.
You're exactly right, Tom. I mean, where Akron is starting with the football after kickoffs. This is very impressive for Ohio State. It used to be you want to keep people inside the 20, but with the new kickoff return rules, right down to 21 is terrific.
You know, it's amazing how rumors get
nice
started.
Nice throw by Beckman on that play to Sane.
You know, I mean, all we hear about Ohio State going into the season, they're very worried about their special team. First thing Coach Dressel says to us yesterday, I really like our special team.
I think they're playing well. And Akron's made a change at quarterback, Tom.
Yep, Carlton Jackson back in there. We saw him for 1 series, a 3-and-out series in the opening half.
Now, J.D. Brookhart said at the beginning of the year that Chris Jack LeMain had won the job and would not be on a short leash, but he would play Carlton Jackson a series in the 2nd quarter. I think the reason he's changed up now is the pressure from Ohio State has been so intense. They want a quarterback who can move a little bit better, and Carlton Jackson's better equipped to handle that.
Play clock down to 8. Now down to 5. They just do get it off, and here they come. And Jenkins saw that one coming on the way. Stefan Fuqua, the intended target. On the 3rd quarter, Ohio State is doing it. They've been doing it all day on defense.
They have, and it really came alive to start the 2nd half, and that got the offense started also. Dane Sanzenbacher with a catch, culminating in a field goal, and then Ohio State's first touchdown of the game, Todd Beckman to Brandon Sane.
3rd down, and they're coming after the quarterback. He just has to throw it away. And again, Ross Holman applying the pressure. So that's 3 series, 3-and-out in the 2nd half for the Zips.
Two things come to mind for me. Carlton Jackson, I think, was put in because he has better feet than Chris Jack LeMain. But if he stays in the pocket, that gets negated. I think if you're going to use Carlton Jackson for movement against the pressure of Ohio State, you have to move him within the pocket and also get him to the corners. Try and get him away from some of that pressure from Ohio State.
Robisky and Malcolm Jenkins stand at their own 35-yard line. John Steck puts a foot on it. Man, has this guy kicked the football today. Jenkins all the way back to the 25. And that's where he's dropped immediately.
Great coverage. Great coverage. Jaleel Carter, number 2, a true freshman.
50-yard boot. What a day for the Akron punter. Well, 30 minutes of highlights, analysis, and features dedicated to the world of Big Ten women's athletics. The Big Ten Women's Show, Monday night, 7:30 Eastern on the Big Ten Network. They were highlighting the Ohio State women's volleyball team on the big jumbotron as we have a change at quarterback now for Ohio State. Robbie Schoenhoff, the sophomore out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And they hand it off to Maurice Wells, a flag down on the play. And generally that's in the area of holding against the offense, and that's exactly what it is. So Robbie Schoenhoff, who grew up in Mason, Ohio, which is a suburb just north of Cincinnati, and played at St. Xavier High School, one of the powerhouse programs in the country.
And if you read Mime, he was saying holding Ohio State. Could be the takedown right there. Could be one back in. Not sure which one they actually called, but looked like it might have been Kirk Barton, number 74. Might have been the guy they were looking at, the big All-American candidate at tackle.
So now Schoenhoff out of the shotgun. He's a big kid with a rifle of an arm. Played in a pro-style offense at St. Xavier. And his first throw complete to Hartline, not much of a gain. You know, of course, Kirk Herbstreit, the now analyst over on ESPN and a former Ohio State captain and quarterback, he put together that Herbstreit Classic where they pit, you know, state champions from other states around the country, and they come in to play some of the powerhouse teams in Ohio. Independence out of North Carolina came in, 109-game winning streak last weekend into Cincinnati to take on Schoenhoff's alma mater. And St. X ran them out of town with a 30-point whooping.
Good football play, obviously.
Now Schoenhoff rolls to his left, and he'll keep it. Spins his way and carries out to the 27. Not a bad pickup for Schoenhoff. A gain of 8.
He ran the ball well last week. 3 carries, 27 yards. He's a big guy at 6'6", as you described, but he has enough pocket presence to realize when it's time to pull it down and move it, and he just gets it upfield and gets what he can. Showing a little spin move there. How about that? Bring up a third and about 7 or 8.
Gonna call it 8. And Schoenhoff out of the shotgun. And they're coming after him. He fires. What a throw, and then what a catch by Robisky. The ball was thrown by Schoenhoff before Robisky ever turned around.
Great observation. I was thinking the exact same thing. You hear coaches talk all the time about being able to have the confidence to throw it on before the guy makes the break because you know he's going to be there. That's exactly what Schoenhoff did, and a terrific catch by Robisky because the coverage by Devanzo Tate was actually pretty good.
So Robbie Schoenhoff gets him a first down after 1st and 20 following a holding penalty on his first play under center. And now they give it to Maurice Wells. And he's out to the 48-yard line.
I know they're fairly early in this drive, but so far this could not have worked out better for Jim Tressel getting Robbie Schoenhoff in the game. You know why? He took Todd Beckman out after a touchdown pass, a positive he ends on. Schoenhoff comes in and picks up a first down on 1st and 20. So this works out well also. So mentally, everything's working real well for Jim Tressel in maneuvering his players.
Well, of course, in years gone by, Tressel has started the season in a quote-unquote 2-quarterback sort of scenario. And generally, it's been the second-string guy that's come on to win the job, i.e. Troy Smith behind Justin Zwick 4 years ago. Schoenhoff just throws it away.
Interesting you bring up Justin Zwick. I saw him in the elevator earlier today, and I asked him how he's doing. I said, Justin, how are things going? He said, boy, it is hard not being out there right now, trying to adjust to that civilian life, as we call it. Great block by Maurice Wells right there on the on-rushing defender, number 94, Sean Lemon. Goes down low and takes out his legs. Lemon flies through the air.
Well, now another third down for the Buckeyes. We'll call it 3rd and 5. Maurice Wells in the backfield and Schoenhoff under center looking over the seam. And he's going to throw it. Fires, and it's incomplete. You know, if there's one knock, I guess, if you will, on Schoenhoff, and he's still so young. I mean, remember, he was a redshirt freshman last year who only threw one pass the entire season, is some say he grips the ball too tightly. I mean, he really wanted to win that quarterback job. He's an extremely intense, competitive kid, and maybe sometimes a little too fired up.
And you understand that term, being a baseball guy. You hear that all the time. When a guy's struggling, what do they say? He's gripping, right? Holding on too tight. Sometimes you got to have a little relaxation so that you can let your talent flow.
Trapasso punting as Jones lets it bounce. And it will be down at the 8-yard line. 43-yard punt by A.J. Trapasso. We remind you our copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Big Ten Conference and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts of descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Big Ten Conference. Charles Davis, I'm Tom Brenneman, along with Carissa Thompson. We're in Columbus, Ohio. The Akron offense, 41 total yards against Ohio State. And now 43 yards after a gain of 2.
And they're in such a tough spot. They don't want to make a key turnover here and give Ohio State something easy and totally take them out of it. Right now, they're only down 11. We're not even to the 4th quarter yet. But if you make a turnover, if you have a turnover here and give Ohio State an easy touchdown, now the momentum really swings against you. So I know that J.D. Brookhart, the head coach, and Joe Moorhead, his offensive play caller, have that in mind as they go through this sequence.
Carlton Jackson in at quarterback on now back-to-back offensive series.
I'd try and swing him out of the backfield and let him approach the line of scrimmage with his legs.
Well, they're coming after him again, and he throws to the far side, bobbled, and catch is made. And man, what an impressive day it has been for Donald Washington. We heard so much about him last year when they were practicing leading up to the national championship game in Phoenix.
And we're seeing exactly why. He played nickel all of last year. Now he's full-time duty, and he's really been impressive on the corner. But how about the pursuit from inside out to finish off the play?
3rd down and 3. Jackson looking over to the sideline for the call. Play clock at 10. He better hurry up. Play blown dead before it ever got started. And that'll be a procedure penalty, I believe, against Akron.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense number 75.
See, I think that was crowd-induced.
It remains.
Well, they're in the closed end of the horseshoe.
That was crowd-induced, and what happened was because Carlton Jackson, see right there, that's where he raised up beforehand. When Carlton Jackson was calling all the checks, he's got to go up and down the line, guys turning, trying to get it. It makes it very unsettling for the offensive line.
Well, now again, you go from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8. Jackson, an inside handoff, and Ohio State saw it coming. Dennis Kennedy, tackled by Laurinaitis, along with Doug Worthington. Worthington actually the first man there. So again, 3 and out. That is 4 straight series to start this second half. And Akron in the game less than 40 yards of offense.
3rd and 3, they're really trying to get the first down. The play call that comes in on 3rd and 3 is different than that 3rd and 8. That 3rd and 8 was just, hey, let's not turn it over, let's punt it away. 3rd and 3, I might attack a little bit, and because we think we've got a chance of picking that up. This guy, Joe Steck, talk about worn out. They have to ice him all the way back to Akron after this game.
So that is the end of the 3rd quarter. from Ohio Stadium in Columbus, where 105,000 have watched the Buckeyes take a 13-2 lead. And we'll return to Ohio Stadium right after these messages and a word from your local station. We begin the fourth quarter. You take a look at that, the scoring numbers today. Ohio State with just a 1-point lead at halftime. They've scored 10 here in the second half, and we now begin the fourth quarter. Steck punts from his own 5. Hartline will let it bounce, and it's down at the Ohio State 48. So let's see who comes back out at quarterback. And of course, Todd Beckman started the game. On the last offensive series, we saw Robbie Schoenhoff, the sophomore out of Cincinnati. And it looks like Schoenhoff will stay on at quarterback. When you look at the numbers, this Ohio State defense has just been unbelievable.
53 total yards for the game, 4 in the second half for Akron. That's impressive.
3 true freshman wide receivers in the game for Ohio State. Washington, Sanzenbacher, and Devon Torrance. But they're going to hand it off. And maybe a gain of 1. Another quiet day today for Chris Wells. 17 carries, 72 yards.
Jim Tressel talked about being able to get the running back to the line of scrimmage. Now, he said, Earl Bruce always said, guys, you got to keep by his feet to the line of scrimmage, meaning you've got to get a surge up front. So the running back from deep position gets to the line of scrimmage. Then he makes his move and his cut. If you can't make it before that, you're in trouble.
Schoenhoff throws to the freshman Torrance. He loses the ball. And a scramble for it. A couple of guys basically whiffed in trying to recover the football. One from each side. The ball stripped away by Paris McNeil, the 5th-year senior. The Zips say they have it.
Another turnover for Ohio State, and that happens a lot with young freshmen and how they're holding the football, especially when you get into the middle where the traffic is. Again, the route where they throw it inside, there's a completion, and as he goes, ball's popped out as he goes by McNeil, and then underneath the pile, the Akron Zips come up with it.
4 turnovers, as Charles mentioned, now for Ohio State. 2 interceptions by Beckman and 2 fumbles. And again, Carlton Jackson stays on at quarterback. First even remotely decent field position of the second half for the Zips. And Jackson on the keeper. Pretty good pickup to the 45. And let's send it back to Dave Revson in Chicago for an update.
Carlton Jackson, the ball carrier.
Bowling Green and Michigan State. Check out this catch by Devin Thomas. Brian Hoyer putting it up there. Thomas bringing it down. Sets up a J.U. Colquitt TD. 21-14 Spartans.
Dave, thank you. Back here on a second down, Terry. Kennedy is dragged to the line of scrimmage by Ross Holman and James Laurinaitis.
Which sets up another 3rd and long for Akron. And I really think that they've got to get Carlton Jackson out of the pocket. Because Ohio State, see the speed and pursuit. Look at James Laurinaitis coming right after it and stuffing the play with some help from his defensive line. But I think in the pocket, Carlton Jackson's almost a sitting duck.
Akron 1 of 13 on 3rd down. Jackson flushed out of the pocket. Cuts it to the inside, but denied first down yardage. Cameron Hayward tripped him up. Do you think about going here if you're Akron with 12:40 to play?
I would think about it in this situation, but I wouldn't do it. I would punt the ball and play field position here. Because if you give the ball up middle of the field with Ohio State's offense, even though they haven't been super impressive today, I think I like my odds better if I can kill the ball inside the 10-yard line. I think I'd at least take that shot at it.
Steck is punting for the 13th time today. And there's nearly a full quarter of football to be played.
You know the one word he's going to say at the end of the game? Trainer.
He's been up to the task, though.
Yes, he has.
Angled toward the sideline. A fair catch made by Robisky at the 17. So we'll take a break. 12 minutes to play in Columbus. The 12th ranked Buckeyes in front of the Akron Zips. 13-2.
Can't keep up with all the Saturday action? Then catch up with Big Ten Extra Points. Every scoring play from every Big Ten game, all in one show. Big Ten Extra Points, Monday nights, only on the Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network Football is brought to you by U.S. Bank, home of the 5-star service guarantee. By Yield Guard BT Triple, the yield protection system. And by Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here. Ohio Stadium on the campus of the Ohio State University. And the Buckeyes with 12 minutes to go with a 13-2 lead, and their quarterback is Todd Beckman, the starter. Gave way to Robbie Schoenoff for a couple of series. Beckman today is hit on 13 of 22, 2 interceptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And this is Chris Wells. While we have a moment, let's send it back to Chicago and get an update again from Dave Revson.
Tom, want to update you on the game between Northwestern and Nevada. Nevada had the big halftime lead. Northwestern coming back. Brandon Roberson in for Tyrell Sutton, who's banged up. 76-yard run sets up a Roberson TD. It's 24-20.
All right, Dave, we'll check back in again with you shortly. And again, they hand it off to Chris Wells. Run out of bounds at the 45-yard line. So here as the game has gone on, numbers beginning to get a little more Chris Wells like. He ran right over John Mackey on that 25-yard run.
His best run of the day, not because of yardage, but how he's finishing it. Watch this. John Mackey, the leading tackler for Akron, a very tough guy. And watch Chris Wells. It's a great block up front, and then able to bounce it outside. He even got a nice block on the corner from Dane Sanzenbacher. But he finished off the run well, running over John Mackey.
Well, for Chris Wells, his first career 100-yard rushing day. And he's adding to that total. Wells puts it the other way. The 20, the 15, and down to the 11. So with all the talk, the USA Today High School Player of the Year coming out of Akron. Today, the first 100-yard rushing day for Chris Wells, a gain of 41.
Back-to-back physical runs. Watch the stiff arm in the open field on DeVanzo Tate. And he tries a second one here. And he's working it on Reggie Corner before he's hauled down from the back.
Chris Wells had the big touchdown run against Michigan last year. This is Maurice Wells. And met head on by Doug Williams. Did they say the ball was down? Yes. That is not a fumble.
You know, one of the differences I've seen in Chris Wells in the second half, I know he likes to be called Beanie, I'm still trying to get to that, is that he's picking up his feet initially in his run. Remember how the game started, slipped and fell the first couple times he carried the football? Now I see the feet moving and turning quicker and chopping through there, and that's getting him started faster.
Well, he's still standing on the Ohio State sideline after that 41-yard gallop a minute ago. Maurice Wells, and again, just nowhere to run. So just when you think Ohio State's running game is going to get it rolling, runs of 25 and 41 by Chris Wells, back-to-back carries by Maurice Wells, and a total of 1 yard.
And a great job by the Akron defensive front, because number 95, Nate Robinson, just held the point of attack so well. there was no place to go. That allowed the defensive ends to crash down. Looked like number 54, Doug Williams, the outside linebacker, crashed down and made the play.
2 tight ends in the game for Ohio State. A 3rd down and 9. Play fake. Schoenhoff to the end zone. Touchdown, Robisky.
Tom, they caught Akron actually slanting opposite the roll. Watch the defense moving this way, and then, of course, Beckman comes back this way. See that? They caught him moving in that direction. It worked out perfectly. He's wide open to throw the ball, and Robisky's wide open to catch it.
Pretorius, the point after is good, so Ohio State held to 3 points in the first half on offense. Has thrown 17 on the board through less than a quarter and a half here in the second stanza. Well, with the skies clearing, it is a sticky Saturday, summer-like here in Columbus. And the Holiday Inn Express Ohio State scoring drive, by far their most impressive of the day. Big runs by Chris Wells. Almost a sigh of relief because of the runs by Wells. I think the coaching staff obviously loved it, but I think the crowd even more so. Getting to see the Ohio State running game getting back into high gear. Brian Williams will have it bounce into the end zone. And let's send it downstairs once again to Carissa Thompson.
We've seen all types of weather here today, haven't we, you guys? Ohio State has also seen 2 different quarterbacks, Robbie Schoenhoff and Todd Beckman, and they share the same position, but that's about the only thing they have in common except for their size. You see teammates describe Robbie as the loud, outgoing one, while Todd is the quiet leader, or as his mom Denise describes him, as a man of not many words. And although they're different in personality, they're still effective on the playing field no matter how you look at it.
And Carissa, you know, it's funny you talk about Beckman being the quiet one. Apparently he sent the same note home to his mother from summer training camp every year. Kind of just regurgitates it. Hi, Mom, doing fine.
Trying to bring it to the outside is Kennedy, and coming up to lay on a lick is a senior out of Georgia, Larry Grant.
He's played a nice game today. I mean, when you think about this game, you look back, the defense for Ohio State will deservedly get a lot of kudos, and Larry Grant will be one of those guys. Number 6, the linebacker last year, coming out of a junior college, took a year to really adjust, was a backup. This year, they've really unleashed him from the outside linebacker position.
First junior college player under Jim Tressel, came from City College of San Francisco, JUCO Player of the Year. Jackson, a short throw. Caught out of the 24-yard line by Merce Poindexter. 3rd down upcoming.
Poindexter's a player they really like a lot, and they wanted to utilize their tight ends a bit more coming into today's ball game, but just haven't had much of an opportunity to actually throw it because of the pressure from Ohio State.
3rd down and 6.
Well, the MO, Tom, has been to get after it. Let's see if Jim Haycock does that again.
Thaddeus Gibson coming after him. They pick up the block, and they throw down the sideline. And great coverage, and that is incomplete. And again, the name we continue to call all day long, the sophomore out of Indianapolis, Donald Washington.
See, and what Donald Washington offers on the corner is a nice job because he read the eyes of Jabari Arthur, and at the last second when he realized the ball was coming down, he kind of took a swipe at it, which takes away concentration for the receiver. But coming into the year, you're thinking, well, Malcolm Jenkins is the lockdown guy for Ohio State. Who fills the other role? Donald Washington with an emphatic "I do" today.
Punt number 14 now for John Steck. And again from deep in his own territory at the 10. That leg might be beginning to tire. First bad kick he's had today. It's down to just shy of midfield at the 49. But Steck has had a dynamite day.
He has.
Let's take a look at today's Cargill passing combo. With Ohio State leading 20-2 with 7:52 to play. The combined totals of Brian Hartline and Brian Robisky.
Not bad at all. 12.5 yards per catch between the two of them. And Todd Beckman's numbers have really picked up here in the second half.
Brandon Sane is hammered by Paris McNeil. We have not seen Chris Wells since that last drive where he carried 4 times for 72 yards. He had that 41-yard run and then came over to catch his breath on the sideline and stayed there through the touchdown pass to Robisky. And now it's Sane who will be replaced by Wells. No, Sane will stay in along with Wells.
They've shown a little bit more of a 2 tailback look in pass situations here in this ball game.
After the loss of 4, Beckman to throw. Flushed out of the pocket. Still on his feet. And that is actually Schoenhoff now in the game at quarterback. So Robbie Schoenhoff dumps it off to Sane. And 3rd down upcoming after a gain of 4.
We keep talking about how big and strong Robbie Schoenhoff is at 6'6", 244. But he's shown me a nice ability to move out of the pocket and still complete plays. One time he ran up the gut and ran for about 8 yards. This time he moved around and completed a pass and made it now 3rd and 11.
Well, Schoenhoff just a dynamite athlete, basketball player, baseball player. He did it all. And now to throw on 3rd and long. Great protection. Schoenhoff moving around. And he loses the football. Is it another Ohio State turnover? If it is, it would be the 5th of the game. Doug Williams stripped the ball. And yes, it looks like the Zips have recovered. Paris McNeil again on the action. So Williams is stripped. McNeil covers it up. 1st down, Akron. Inside Ohio State territory.
Once again, a ball carrier for Ohio State not taking care of the ball. We always hear about ball security. And right there, Williams, Doug Williams, number 54, strips it. McNeil covers it. Kind of brings up a little irony here, Tom. John Heisman was the head coach and actually quarterbacked the last Akron team to beat Ohio State back in 1894. Well, we know Heisman as a famous coach. You know what he used to say the first day of football practice every year? Better for you to have died as a small child than to fumble my football. Right now, Ohio State's wondering about holding on to the football.
Delayed handoff to Brian Williams out of Akron's Bucktail High, one of the great football programs in the state of Ohio.
Remember, the College of Akron was actually Bucktail before it became the University of Akron.
Akron with 2 first downs. First downs the entire game against this Ohio State defense. Jackson hangs onto the ball. A number of the backups beginning to get into the game. Brian Roll on the tackle there. Looks like Chris Wells might get the rest of the day off. His first career 100-yard rushing game. And 72 of those came on that last drive. But Chris, it will not be for Mr. Wells, Charles Davis, his final 100.
No. That should be the start of many to come. And after this play, I'll tell you about a guy who started a streak a week from today in his career that endures.
Over the middle and close to a first down. Looks like they got it. Jabari Arthur. To the 39, it is a first down, the 3rd of the game for the Zips.
That's a great job by Jabari Arthur helping out his quarterback and finding an open spot. But a week from today, Tom, a week hence, Archie Griffin of Ohio State began his NCAA record string of 31 straight 100-yard games.
That's how you win back-to-back Heisman.
That's how you get it done.
Jackson, did he get rid of it before he hit the ground? It's an incomplete pass.
I just think they've got to move him out of the pocket initially. He looks like he's got nice feet, talking about Carlton Jackson, number 7. But everything's in the pocket, and Ohio State kind of knows where to find him on every play. You know, every time you rush, it's 5 to 7 yards behind center, go get him. Move him around the pocket, roll him out a little bit.
2nd and 10 Akron at the Ohio State 38.
For Jackson, little flare to Kennedy, and a hit made by Jamario O'Neal, a starter last year. And a fumble, and the Buckeyes have the football. First turnover of the day for the Akron Zips. Jamario O'Neal wants that starting strong safety job back.
And the first turnover forced by the Ohio State defense in 4 ball games worth. Great job with the tackle and the strip by Jamario O'Neal.
Wow. He made the hit and just pulled the ball right out of his hands. Back in Columbus, 4:35 to play. And Ohio State led it 3-2 at halftime, 17 unanswered points.
Put on their rally caps.
In fact, 20 total unanswered points. They fell behind initially 2-0 after a safety in the opening quarter. Robbie Schoenhoff back under center, and this is Brandon Sane. And he plunges ahead to the 45, a pickup of 2. Our Cooper Tires big stop of the game. Our play brought to you by Cooper Tires. Laurinaitis on a sack on the opening drive here in the second half.
Yeah, got some help from Ross Holman, who attracted the attention of the blockers, and he came through unblocked. And he's tough enough when you are blocking him. When you leave him unblocked, you've got no chance.
Okay, this Akron defense is going to give some teams some problems in the Mid-American Conference Eastern Division. We told you Ohio University, the defending champion and the favorite going into this year. Schoenhoff rolling right, stops on a dime, and he'll dive ahead out to the 48-yard line. So 3rd down upcoming for the Ohio State offense. The clock rolling now under 3:40.
And I noticed Robbie Schoenhoff learned a lesson on that play. Remember how last time he got the ball stripped? Did you see how he tucked it away that time when he decided he was going to tuck it down and run? Ball held tightly to the side of his body. Quite sure that Joe Daniels, the quarterback's coach, had a few words for him when he came off, and he remembered them. I'm sure it's pretty vivid.
Starting to say he better remember.
You don't make the same mistake twice, right?
I don't think so.
Not a good idea.
Call it 3rd down and 6, and Schoenhoff to throw. Fires, complete to the tight end Brandon Smith, the junior from Euclid, Ohio. And that's good enough for an Ohio State first down, a gain of 9. Now early on, the safety to make it 2-0. Ohio State finally got its first touchdown coming in the 3rd quarter on a pass to Brandon Sane. And then Beckman found Brian Robisky in the end zone for a touchdown in this 4th quarter, and a 20-2 lead under 2:40 to go now in Columbus. Brandon Sane, the 41. So all in all, Charles, obviously a very sluggish first half offensively. Better in the second half, certainly not great.
Right.
But Jim Tressel told us, you know, this is a work in progress. And certainly Jim Bowman, the offensive coordinator, reiterated that over and over and over again. Your thoughts, at least, you know, looking ahead now and down the road for Ohio State offensively?
See, I agree with that assessment, and I'll get back to it after we run this play. And you know, saying running it inside. But I agree with the assessment because people have to remember who was lost last year. You're losing Doug Dadish in the middle, who's a terrific player, offensive lineman. You're losing a couple guys on the guards, right? TJ Downing's not there anymore. An offensive line has a choreography, and they have to develop a camaraderie to know where everyone is on every movement that a lot of positions don't. You know, your wide receivers are kind of soloists. Your running backs are soloists. Your offensive line is a unit, and it takes some time to develop that cohesion. This team will continue to get better and better. People want it done right now. It's the impatience of our society. But I think 5-6 games down the road, they're really going to like this team.
Catch made by Washington, the true freshman. We're being told, for those of you waiting on the resumption of a game at Purdue, that was stopped by lightning in the area in West Lafayette, that they're getting warmed up back on the field to start that game. And we will send those of you waiting when the time comes. We'll send you to the studio and Dave Refson and company first, and then send you on to West Lafayette.
So our colleagues there, Ron Thulin and Butler Benote, they got off them. You know, they got off the headsets in a hurry with lightning was there.
Oh, yeah.
They're smart guys. When it's safe, they'll be back and they'll bring you the call the rest of this game. But you know, people, I hear a lot of people talk about Ohio State's schedule this year, Tom, which I always get a chuckle out of. Oh, they're playing no one. They're doing this. They're doing that. It could not have come at a better time with the losses that Ohio State absorbs to get these guys in and get these youngsters an opportunity to play against some opponents that they probably should handle. And oh, by the way, the Washington game now looks like a bigger game after what we saw from them in week 1 against Syracuse.
Antonio Henton, the redshirt freshman quarterback, comes in, hands it off to Sane, and he has a first down and more to the 27-yard line. You know, there are teams you can beat up about scheduling, and then there are teams you can beat up about scheduling.
Right.
The last time I checked, the last 2 years, Ohio State had a home-and-home with Texas, and starting next year, they have a home-and-home against USC.
And in future, I mean, it just keeps going, right? I mean, you know, I've heard Oklahoma's name bandied about. Washington, when this game was scheduled, think about it.
Yeah.
Washington was a perennial top 10, top 15 team. So you can't talk to me about Ohio State and their schedule. They always play people.
Maurice Wells to the 25-yard line. And that could well be our final play. Actually, time enough for one more play. Should Ohio State go ahead and run that?
I don't think they'll desire it. I think this is it. Everybody take the headsets off, shake hands, and they will go and work on the game plan and get ready now for the Washington Huskies. That's a long trip out there to Seattle and a tough place to play.
And a very impressive opening win for the Huskies at Syracuse.
Yeah, they get Boise State today.
Yep.
And that's one of those games that you keep an eye on. And when we saw it in preseason, you thought, well, there's Boise State. Now, if you're Boise State, that's a game you got to be careful with.
For Jim Tressel, improving now to 64-14 as head coach here at Ohio State. A 20-2 victory over the Akron Zips. So the Buckeyes ranked 12th in the country coming into this one. We'll see where they stand when the polls come out the early part of next week. So again, our final score here today, 20-2, Ohio State wins it. Chris Wells, his first career 100-yard rushing day, 20 carries, 143 yards. Todd Beckman at quarterback, 14 of 23, did throw 2 interceptions, threw 2 touchdowns for 131 yards, and Schoenhoff, the backup, hit on 6 of 8. So that'll do it from Ohio Stadium. Our final score, the Ohio State Buckeyes 20, the Akron Zips 2. We now send it to our Chicago studios to Dave Refson.